It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Adams, sitting in the snowy cabin today with Dan Jasa, shoveling snow, drinking coffee.
It is snowy.
Yeah.
Roads aren't too bad, though.
Not a lot to do.
23 was not too bad coming over.
Are you going to watch the big game?
Yep.
I'm not.
Actually, there's a commercial I want to see. It sounds like it's going to be hilarious.
I could care less, but
I know you could care less, but
it's not college football.
I got appetizers.
Well, you didn't bring me any over.
I'm saving them for later.
Oh, jeez, I see how you are.
That's right.
Well, we got a special guest on
yes,
today.
we do.
So
not just a special guest, the one and only special guest.
That's right.
Mr. Lancaster shooter himself. PSE's own Dan Jasa. What's up, Dan?
How are you doing, guys?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. As before you started the recording, you said it's snowing down there in Ohio, and you're doing a little moving, and you should really be getting ready for Las Vegas. What's up with that?
Yeah, Las Vegas starts this coming Friday. We've got 3 days of shooting. We shoot 30 arrows a day, and at the end of it, anyone who shot at 900 gets to go into a shoot-off on Sunday for, I think they're up to $52,000 for the winner this year.
$52,000.
Wow. Man, I think we need to start learning how to shoot.
And I thought, I think the winner Lancaster, he took home $22,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So the $52,000 on the purse is just the payout from the shoot itself. That's not counting any contingency. All the contingency stuff for the winner, they'll probably be pushing $100,000 by the end of it.
Wow. That's incredible for slinging arrows. But you got to be good at it.
Yeah.
You got to be ice like Dan.
No kidding. You shot Lancaster this past weekend.
Yes, I did.
What was that? I can't even imagine. For those of you who don't know Lancaster, the big archery shoot, it was actually televised online, and Dan and I got to watch Dan shoot. Simply incredible, man. That was something else to watch that performance.
Thank you.
So, kind of tell people how that all transpires. I mean, you just don't go and, hey, we all shoot, and all of a sudden there's a winner. Talk about the process a little bit.
So the way Lancaster works is you shoot the first day of qualifying. You'll shoot 60 arrows at a vertical free spot target, and the X counts as 11, then 10, 9, 8, all the way down. You'll shoot your 60 arrows, add up your score at the end of it, and the top 64 go into basically what's like a NCAA basketball bracket. So one shoots against 64, two shoots against 63, et cetera, et cetera. And then once they get down to the top 8, they take the entire amount of arrows that you've shot, all the scores you've shot, add them together, re-rank you 1 through 8, and then it's a shoot up. So 8 will shoot versus 7. The winner of that match shoots against versus 6, et cetera, all the way down until you're shooting against the number one guy, and whoever wins gets to take home the money.
So the number one guy is automatically in the finals. He only shoots one time.
Yeah. So the guy that's why qualifying is so important, because if you're in the number 8 spot like I would have had to shoot 7 matches to get to the championship, where the number one guy, the worst he can finish, is second.
Okay. All right.
So qualifying and putting them in the middle is really, really important. But you do have a little bit of room for error with the top 64. Like Braden Gillantine, he qualified 59th out of 64, which is very uncharacteristic for him, because he was going into that shoot, he was a world archery ranked number 2 archer in the world.
Wow.
So he had a not so stellar qualifying session, but he shot his way through on the eliminations, beat all his guys, and made it to the top 8. So
right on.
You do have a little bit of room for error in the qualifying, but the better you can shoot sets you up better if you do make the top 8.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
That's awesome. So here you are. You finally made it into the top 8. So you were in round number 1 coming out of the gates. Anything in particular you were? I knew you had the long road to go, obviously with 7 matches to get to the top. But anything mentally you were telling yourself getting into there, up there?
Oh no! Once you get to the top 8, like I was telling you, the hard work is getting there. Once you get to the top 8, and you get the first couple arrows downrange, you just kind of get into your shot process and start getting a little bit more comfortable. And after that, it's just you're doing what you can do to put them in the middle.
Now you took a bow and you set that bow up a week prior.
Yeah, I set that bow up Sunday. I got it in and set it up, and I wasn't planning on shooting that bow, but set it up, went to the club, shot a couple rounds with it, and I'm like, this thing's really fit me. I don't know if it was where I had my knocking point set up or how just something that just clicked right away. So I was still kind of on the fence with it after the first day, shot a couple more days with it, shot a really, really good 450 round with it, and I'm like, all right, I'm taking this bow. This is the one I'm going to shoot. So
we got a picture of it up right now online of you shooting that bow and that setup. Run through your setup a little bit and talk about the bow just a touch for the listeners.
So it's the new PSE Perform X. It's a 40-inch version, not the 36. I'm running AAE hot rod stabilizers on it. I've got a 30-inch on the front, a 12-inch on the back. I run 20 ounces on both sides. I've got a AAE Freak Show rest on it. I've got a Excel AX3000 sight with a shrewd 29 millimeter mini mag scope with a 6-power feather vision lens. I'm shooting a stand shoot off release and shooting tank 27 arrows.
So you're allowed to use magnification then?
Yep.
Okay. I didn't know if you
could.
So
yeah,
or not.
In the open pro class, you're not really limited much on what you can bring other than arrow diameter. So your arrow diameter has to be 0.422 inches or smaller.
Now, I was listening when I was listening to the broadcast. They were definitely talking about the arrows and like the tanks that you were using, and you guys were all using like a fat shafted arrow to get that
tear.
To get that tear.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get a big arrow to tune, it's more beneficial for you because if you got one kind of close on the outside, the extra diameter may help you catch the line a little bit better. So basically everyone but Braden was shooting 27 size arrows. He was shooting 23s. I know he does a lot of world archery stuff, and they're limited to a 23 diameter. So he was shooting that, was comfortable with it, and thought it was a little bit more forgiving than his 27s he was shooting. So, but yeah, for the most part, everyone's shooting 27 diameter arrows.
Okay, yeah, we got a picture up right now. You're in your first shoot off, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, and I can't read it from here because it's so far away from the computer screen. But you were going into that last round with him, and you were pointing up. You know, when you're up there, you got the lead, and you're shooting against somebody. What's going through your mind? I mean, obviously you're just concentrating on the next round, the shot execution, and all that. But is there anything else going through your mind at that point?
I mean, you try to put the score that you've got going, whether you're up by 1 or down by 1, you try to put that in the back of your mind and not really think about it. The biggest thing that you can do in a tournament situation is if you have a shot process and you trust it, is just to mentally go through your shot process before every shot, visualize arrow hitting the center, and just go through your shot process. So shooting that kind of stuff helps out a ton for hunting as well because, I mean, you get the same kind of butterflies and jitters you do shooting a tournament like this as you would if a giant buck walks out. So
I imagine.
I mean, you getting a shot process ingrained into your head where once you start aiming, you don't really ever have to think about what it takes to make that release fire. It just happens.
Okay. Now, and I got to imagine that process for you guys has to be quick because you got 30 seconds to execute the shot. Is that right?
Yeah, 30 seconds is actually a pretty long time. It used to be 20, and that was, you get a little tight. Someone had a fairly long shot process. You get down to 6 or 7 seconds before the shot would break. So you really don't have any time like you do in a normal round if something doesn't feel quite right to let down and start over again.
Okay.
So I've got a fairly quick shot process. So that kind of shooting with 30 seconds, I've got a ton of time.
Yeah, that's one of the things the commentators were saying is they were watching each shooter shoot, and they were talking about that as they were like they were saying that, okay, this guy's starting to hang on too long, and they were kind of like, okay, you can, and they were kind of mentioning that, and then he'd like shoot, and then seconds later the noise would go off.
Right.
But you could tell the longer that they were starting to hold it, they're getting shakier, I guess.
Yeah, or like they'd say you get a ginch in their execution. You'd see them flinch or something. And actually, they made a comment. I don't remember what round it was, but There was a slight something or other on one of the rounds you were shooting, and they made mention of it. But being stone cold, you got the 11,
right? Oh, yeah, they said it a couple times.
That's typically on something like that where you're holding it along. On a normal round where you've got like 2 minutes to shoot 3 arrows, I would have let down and started over. But with 30 seconds, you really don't have time to let down. So
I gotcha. Makes sense.
You go. You shoot now.
Right on.
Right? You get to a point, you anchor and let it fly, because if you can't with 30 seconds, that's just...
Right.
I can only imagine with 20 seconds, it was getting kind of even more intense.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're bumping up here close to our first break here. Let's take a break. We'll step outside real quick. We're going to shovel some snow in the break, and we'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back, everybody. Second segment of the show.
450th show.
It is the 450th show. What do you think about that?
I know, pretty amazing. I think we should give away something.
I think we can. We'll talk about that at the end of the show.
I think so.
All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, we got Dan Jasa on. He's still sitting in a parking lot somewhere.
All right, Dan.
In Ohio.
so watching you on YouTube, watching you go through your matches, you got into a groove. The commentators were saying that you were just rock solid. Any point in time against the competitors that you were going to, any one of them kind of, whether there was a really young guy that was going up against you, or was it all you and the target, or did you have butterflies knowing you were shooting against so and so?
No, I mean, once you get into that point, I mean, anyone can win. So I mean, it might as well be me, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
So you got to go into that situations confident, and like I was talking before, you just have to trust the process that you've built, and know that if you do everything that you've trained to do, that it's going to go in the middle.
How much time do you typically put in shooting, practicing during the week? I know you got a full-time job and then some. So
yeah, I mean, last year when I first took over as the sales manager for PSE, my time to shoot was so limited, and I'd been used to being able to go and practice 2, 3, 4 hours a day. So that first year last year was a little bit of a struggle trying to get my shot where I was comfortable with everything and trusting what I was doing. So this year I kind of made a conscious decision, okay, I know I'm only going to have maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half, 2 to 4 times a week, maybe if I'm lucky.
Okay.
So I really had to take my practice and break it down into setting goals for myself on each practice session and making every arrow more important in practice than it used to be.
Do you think that made you that much better? I mean, other than the old technique, although you didn't have as much time, but it made you focus so much harder?
It's taught me way more about my shooting and what works for me than the way I used to practice does. So knowing that I only have an hour to shoot, I don't get into a rush, but I set every practice session, I'll set a goal for myself. Here's what I want to work on today. I may shoot 30 arrows, I may shoot 60 arrows, I may shoot 90, but every practice session has a goal in my mind of what I'm wanting to accomplish.
Gotcha. Okay.
Speaking of goals and accomplishments and setup, your arrows are not your points on your arrows. Those are just glued in, correct? Those aren't the typical screw-in type.
Yeah, those are glue-in points.
Okay. What makes those better than if you were going to use like a regular, typical field point screw-in type? Explain the difference in the tips.
Well, on a 27 diameter, I don't know if there's anyone right now that makes a bushing you could even glue in to put a screw-in point in. I know on the Carbon Express arrows, you have the ability to, there's a tool that goes, like you take the knockout, and there's a tool you can actually screw weights in and out of the back of the arrow. So that makes it a little bit more nice than a typical standard glue-in bushing with a screw-in point, where you can actually experiment with weights and figure out what makes your setup the most forgiving.
And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a setup that is the most forgiving you, so you're getting your most bang for your buck.
Yes.
Now, I got a question. Talking about arrows and tips, there was something going on during the tournament that I noticed, and they made reference to. They would take a nice close, tight shot, which I don't have any here to show anybody at home, but there was pieces of, they called it snot, pieces of the actual target that was on the end of the arrow tip. When they bring your arrows back, are you not allowed to clean that off? Because people were shooting with that on there. I mean, that may sound like a dumb question, but honestly, I just don't know.
I mean, you can. I mean, as long as it's not like a piece of the target impaled on the arrow, if it's just a piece hanging off the end, as soon as that arrow starts moving, as soon as your release breaks, that stuff's going to fly off anyway.
Okay, I got you.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I did see that.
Yeah, they made reference to it, and I noticed nobody cleaned it off.
Yeah,
so.
You think they would clean it off.
Didn't know, so.
That's why we have Dan here to explain it.
Right. You know, I want to throw a picture up here real quick. Here in the second round, they took a nice wide shot of the venue. Snooky. What a name for a complex. Snooky, I forget, Snooky Park or whatever they call that.
Spooky Nook.
Spooky Nook, that's what it was, Spooky Nook. So, now, this venue, I mean, this place is huge. You got people in there, you got lights on you. You got lights right in your face. You got commentators coming up and talking to you between rounds. What was that like?
I mean, Rob's done a really good job. His main goal that he said before on this tournament is to put as much pressure on the shooters as he can.
Okay.
So coming up and talking to you, and he's trying to figure out who's the best pressure shooter that there is.
Oh, okay. You know what? I take that as totally the opposite. Tell you the truth.
I thought I got a chance to sit down and take a breath and relax just a little
That's what I was thinking, because he would come up to the guys, right, and then ask them, what's your setup, or what like Dan, they ask, hey, what's your day job, what's your, you got two jobs. So he's actually trying to put more pressure on you. Yeah,
I mean, he's trying to put some focus on you and kind of get in your head a little bit and try to make it interesting.
Okay, that's different. I thought that was all for production value.
I thought it was to relax the shooters.
Yeah, well, in the production value of the broadcast, giving you, letting you meet the shooters, through the lens.
Well, that and knowing what everybody was shooting, right? Just to get the brands out there of what these guys are all using. So
it's kind of like a NASCAR getting the sponsors.
It's just like NASCAR, exactly. They all had their shooter shirts on. Yeah. Dan's obviously missing an Up North Journal somewhere on that shirt. We understand that. Well, I must get that fixed somehow. But
I'll let Up North Journal pay for my entry fees, and I'll be more than happy to wear an Up North Journal shirt for you guys.
Danny is going to pay for your travel.
I ain't paying for travel. I might get him into a tournament or two.
Yeah, and get your room stay, as well. So Danny's got deep pockets.
If I get him into a tournament, I'm going to be at that tournament.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll send you guys the entry fee bill for Vegas then. How's that?
No, you don't have to pick like the biggest shoot that there is all year long.
The problem with Danny, if he's paying for travel, he'd probably send you a skateboard or something. That's the way he rolls. So,
but no, it just so that's interesting to put pressure on.
Yeah,
that's. Did you feel more pressure by having him do that?
No, I mean, like I said, I had a coach when I lived in St. Louis. That said archery is living in the 20 seconds it takes you to fire the arrow. Mm-hmm. He goes, if you can find the ability to turn on a switch whenever you start drawing that arrow back to where you're focused and know what you have to do, he goes, you can think about all kinds of other things. You don't have to be focused the entire time you're there. So
right.
I think that's what makes the really, really good shooters separated from some of the others is I used to try to be, when I first started, I'd shoot a 60 arrow round at Indoor Nationals. It takes 4.5 hours. I'd try to be focused the entire 4 hours.
Okay.
Well, there's no way you can do that. Your attention span, there's no way you can stay that attentive for 4.5 hours. But you can focus for 20 seconds 60 times in that 4 hours pretty easily.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It he is exactly what bowling is.
Yeah.
Bowling is the same way.
Yeah.
You get up to go bowling, you walk up to those lanes. That's when you turn it on.
Yeah.
When you walk away, you turn it off.
But in
That's
bowling,
the key.
you don't have a gallery all the way down the side of the whole shooting
In
line.
the finals of the tournament, yeah, you do.
Oh, they do? They put
Oh,
chairs
yeah.
out on the
They
lanes?
do exactly what they do there,
Okay.
just in bowling lanes. And it's the ability to turn it on and off.
Did that give you anything, as far as the crowd, the gallery being down both sides? I imagine you're so focused, all you're seeing is the target.
Well, I mean, the venue they have set up there now is nothing like it used to be when Rob used to have this tournament inside of Lancaster Archery Supply.
Okay.
So in the basement, it was a really, really small room. I think they probably had 20 bales up, but they'd take the furthest two to the left bales, and those would be the two that we'd shoot on. And then they had chairs lined up at an angle basically to like 4 bales over. So you used to feel like you were way more closed in and way more claustrophobic in the old venue. Well, this one now, when you've got the lights on you, it's like looking into like if you're in a house at night and you look out and there's a light outside, you can see it, but no one can see in your house.
Right.
It's kind of the same way. I mean, when you got the lights on, you really can't see much of anything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This picture we got up now, it shows the lights by you on the shooting platforms. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
How far were you shooting?
It's 20 yards.
Okay, 20 yards. Now, here's another reference that they made to. Now, before you got into this, you must have practiced somewhere. And they commented on when you now come up to this stage, the lighting is different, and so it changes everything?
Yeah, so the practice, so behind the stage and everything, they had a practice area set up so people that were coming up could practice, get their arrows in, get kind of loosened up, and make any slight adjustments they need to their sight. They tried to make that lighting out there exactly the same as it was on the stage. Now, it was pretty close, but it wasn't exactly the same. So, like my first match, I was on the right-hand side of the stage, and the right-hand lights were just blaring in your face, and I drew back the first time and looked at my peep sight, and I couldn't see my dot or my scope. I couldn't see anything. I was like, what the heck is going on here? And it took me a minute to find it. And once I figured that out, it's like, okay, now I know what I need to do to get on target and get an arrow off quick.
So what you did is you switched sides.
Well,
Second
the person
round,
coming up gets the person coming up gets to pick which side they want to shoot from.
Oh, because they're the higher qualifier, obviously.
Because they're the higher qualifier. Yep. So typically, what will happen is the person coming up doesn't want the person that's on the stage to be comfortable. So typically, they'll make you move.
Okay,
Mental game.
So, and the lighting on the right side was way more intense than the left side of the stage. So my third match, when the guy said he wanted to shoot from the right side, I was like, good, because I can see way better over here than I can on the right side.
Right. Do you think the second round, the person you shot against, like I say, I can't see the names from here. The computer screen's so far away from me. But do you think that had anything to do? Because I mean, he dropped, I think, 3 or 4 points in that match against you. Do you think that lighting may have had something to do with it? Because they never made reference to it.
No, I don't think so. John's a guy. He's been around a long time. He's made the shoot off in Vegas once or twice. I mean, he's a really, really good shooter, but he's a guy that has a really, really long shot process.
Okay.
So I know he has a tendency that if his shot doesn't go right, he lets down a decent amount. Mm-hmm. So I think that probably played more into it than the lighting did. It was the fact that you only got 30 seconds and you've got to get through your shot. If you don't, the longer you hold, the more your dot starts to move around and you start to get uncomfortable, and things may happen that typically don't happen to you when you're shooting a normal round.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I know he had the 900 buckle. If I remember right, he had a 900 buckle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think when you get to this level, there's nobody there's no slouches there.
No, and look at, you can tell the competition how tight it is, because Dan knows pretty much how all these other shooters shoot.
Yeah.
You know, so he's been watching them and studying them and going back and forth.
Probably shot against them numerous times as well.
Right.
So
I've shot most of the guys that were there in the Open Pro class. I've shot with them so many times. I mean, I think there was 130 of us there, and 95% of them you see at every tournament, every big tournament you go to.
Okay. Right.
So,
and now when you were shooting against the young kid, you needed to go to a shoot-off. But when we come back from break, we'll find out how tight that shoot-off got.
All right, so we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
So what do you do when you've completely redefined the way bows are engineered? When you've reached the pinnacle and the band starts playing your victory song, you start a revolution out of thin air. Introducing the all-new PSE Carbon Air, engineered with true carbon technology to be the lightest high-performance bow in the world. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back, third segment of the show. Still talking
Our
Lancaster.
450th show.
We've done a few.
Yes.
2 or 3 or 400.
And we still got Dan on the line.
Yes, we do.
And during his match, he ended up going to a shoot-off. And
Well, he shot up against a young guy. I mean, a real young guy. I mean, we're not that old, but 19-year-old kid. What, you know, are you thinking, yeah, okay, we got this young guy coming. I mean, obviously you know him, but, you know, you got a young guy trying to put a bullseye on your back and take you down.
Yeah, this kid, Jacob Pettit, I believe his name is, he's kind of come out of nowhere this year. I know he's got a really, really good coach out in Colorado Springs, Bill Pellegrino. He's been around a long time, and I think the kid has obviously found something in what he's taught him. And I know at the Iowa Pro-Am, which was right before the ATA show, he ended up getting second. He was in a 3-way tie with 2 of arguably the best shooters in the world, Jesse Broadwater and Dave Cousins, and he came out second. So he's got a bright future ahead of him, and so he actually qualified number 1 through the qualifications. He only dropped 1X through 60 arrows.
Wow.
So I mean, the kid is no slouch, and I knew when he came up I was going to have to be on my game.
And you were, but so was he, and you went to a shoot-off. And now, when you get to a shoot-off, you shoot an arrow and see who's closest to the X. Well, they needed to bring out a micrometer.
It went to a third arrow.
Right.
Yeah. So you shoot.
Yeah. So typically in World Archery, if you're tied after, they do 15 arrow matches instead of 12 arrow matches. If you're tied after 15 arrows, it's 1 arrow closest to the center. So Rob's kind of modified it just to give it a little bit better production value and give a little bit more excitement. You shoot 1 arrow. If you're still tied after that, you shoot another arrow. If you're still tied after that, the third arrow is closest to center.
Okay. You know, and I got a picture up here of you right now at full draw in that round. You look a lot more serious.
Yeah, he was putting it in there. He was.
Yeah, you could tell it was on the line at this point.
And then they ended up going to a third arrow, and they both shot. And then they had to bring out the micrometer.
Well, Dan's got his binoculars up here at this point.
Well, after he shot that last one, I think that's when he pulled out the binoculars. And the commentary even said, Dan's even using his binoculars to see. Is that the closest you've ever won a match by?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, what they say, 5/1000ths of an inch is what the difference was.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that's as narrow as I've ever escaped a shoot-off and been on the good side of it, so...
That's just incredible. We got a picture of that up on the screen, and it was like, you want to talk about waiting.
Yeah.
Until she made the decision and pointed right or left, and it was just like, wow.
Well, even the commentators are going back and forth. They thought Jacob went first, and then
right.
They're like, I don't know, I think Dan might have, and they just kept going back and forth. 5/1000ths. That's pretty tight shooting.
That is very tight shooting.
So yeah, I mean, you can do everything exactly perfect and win or lose a match by 5/1000ths. I mean, it's that, you hit an inside-out X, you can't do it every single time. I know, like in Vegas, everyone who shoots an 899 at Vegas goes to what they call the lucky dog shoot down, and you have to shoot an inside-out X to make it through.
Okay.
So it's I mean, it's a little bit of luck. I mean, you can be holding perfectly still, and one little difference in how your back elbow is, or maybe a little bit of different pressure on your grip will maybe send that arrow 5 1,000ths off to one side or the other. So
Right.
it comes down, you got to get a little bit of luck in there too sometimes.
Hey, luck is always good. And speaking of bad luck, you ended up losing your match eventually. Ended up 5th, and then we watched the rest. We watched the rest of the shoot down there, and I do believe it was in the second to last round where the gentleman misfired his arrow.
Yep, Chance had a little preemie there. I don't know if it was nerves or what. He shoots a hinge style release, so that style release functions off of rotation. And if you put too much pressure on, like your middle or ring finger, it'll just cause that release to rotate just a little bit more than it normally does, and it'll go off. And
I tell you what, when you were watching it, if you weren't watching it, you didn't kind of get it.
Yeah.
Because there came this hush over the crowd. And I turned my back for a second. I missed it. I'm like, what happened? And
it's like somebody ran over their dog.
Right. And I'm like, and even the commentators were like hushed. And it was like, and then I looked at, they showed his 3 arrows and he was missing the top arrow. And I'm like, well, where did that go?
Yeah.
And we had to go back to the replay that you actually catch it going over the backstop.
Yeah.
Has that?
Yeah, he got a pretty unlucky break there. I think he's had that happen before to him. Typically, he's pretty comfortable with his equipment. He's one of those guys. Chance is a professional shooter. That's all he does for a living. So he has hours and hours and hours and hours a week to practice and get everything right. And he just gets comfortable with what he has. And it's happened before. And my guess is it probably won't happen to him for quite a while now.
Right. Well, that was going to be my question: is how in a situation like that, how often does that happen? Anyways,
It's not a common occurrence by any means. I mean, indoor nationals or Vegas, you'll end up seeing 1 or 2 maybe out of all the shooters that are there during the week. But that's not a normal occurrence for, especially on shooters that are up in the pro class, to have that happen. But it does happen from time to time.
Yeah, it was like his dog died.
Well, you're shooting rounds. What is it? Four ends in this competition was 4. It was 4 ends,
yes,
and you got
4 ends.
Possible 130. What was it? 133 total points.
132 is best score. Yep.
Yeah, 132 is perfect round, and you drop 1 arrow with a chance of 11, and
That's
scores are 1 and 2.
points.
Yeah, 1 and 2 points apart.
You ain't making that up.
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
was.
He did a good job closing his match out, put everything else in the middle, and it's one of those things you can't take back a shot arrow. So the only thing you can do is get through the rest of your arrows and be done with it.
Yeah, and
Right,
walk away
exactly.
and take it. It's,
Man, just is.
You talk about sportsmanship. The guy was he was a complete gentleman about it.
Yeah, I mean when you get to that level, my ultimate goal is to beat someone who's shooting their best they've ever shot. I don't ever like to beat someone because of they shot poorly.
Right.
In my mind, for me to be the best, I've got to beat the best on their best day. So no one ever wants to win a match like that. But at the same point, you just got to finish it and tip your hat to them, say sorry about your bad luck, and we'll get them next time.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
So, and we actually had my 3rd match getting up to the top 8. It was actually my last match before the top 8. We had a little bit of a break, and the kid I was shooting against, I think he's actually from Michigan, Jesse Stark, and I didn't know this at the time, but he's deaf. So we had this little bit of a lull, and we had been getting one practice in before each match, because the way they had the schedule made up, we started shooting, and then a whole new group of shooters came in, like the women's and the masters and things like that. So they get a practice in, we get a practice in. Well, the 3rd match, everyone's had their warm-up. So they announced no practice ins. We're going straight to scoring. Well, we all shoot our arrows. Jesse's the first one to walk down, and I'm behind him, and he goes to pull his first arrow, and I start yelling at him, like, stop, 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 stop. And I just get to him and grab his shoulder before he pulls his arrow out of the target. I'm like, we're scoring. He's like, his eyes got real big. So, I mean, one of the guys that was on the bail with me says, dude, you were 5 seconds from just advancing to the top 8 because he pulled his arrow. Wow. And it's like, obviously I would have taken the win in that match, but I don't want to win by someone making a mistake.
Sure. Right. Wow, that's incredible.
That's sportsmanship, right?
Well, that's just it too, and like you said, if you want to beat the best to be the best, so it makes complete sense.
So now, speaking of Lancaster and what we talked about, They just don't have the open division. They've got a bunch of divisions, like a bow hunter class, a bear bow class, women's class. All this is to help generate more into the sport of archery. Correct, Dan?
Yes. So, like, take the bear bow class, for instance. I actually went and watched their shoot down on Saturday. So I was done shooting, knew I made the top 8, and I went over to the venue where they were doing the shoot-offs to watch the bear bow guys, and those guys are unreal. I mean, the guys that can have a recurve bow, no sights, no clickers, no stabilizers, and shoot the scores they shoot is just amazing.
All they got is a little. I don't know what kind of weight they have. They called it a weight on the front of it. Anything below the shelf.
Yeah, there's certain diameter or amount of weight you can put on the riser to make it set more still. But yeah, you can't like put a stabilizer on it. You can add mass weight to the riser itself, but that's all they can do.
Right, and then they got their release, and then they've got most of the guys.
Well, they don't have a release. They shoot with fingers.
Right,
exactly. They shoot with a finger tab, and
they have most of the guys had a Band-Aid on their nose because that's what they were anchoring to and letting them. And you're right, Dan. Those guys, man, were just slinging arrows, and it was amazing.
Going old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. The number one match was John Demmer, who is a multi-world champion field shooter. I mean, his list of accomplishments is very, very long. And the older gentleman he was shooting against was just slamming. I think the last end he shot like 11-9 with a bear bow.
That's incredible.
It's like, holy cow.
That's nice. And then you had the bow hunter class, but like we talked about, this is all to get more archers and more involvement in the sport. And you were talking about something that the sport of archery in America, as opposed to around the world, is viewed upon a little differently.
Yeah, I mean, the format that Rob puts on is a lot like what World Archery does in all of their World Cup events. So you'll do a qualifying, and then it's head-to-head matches. They don't do a shoot-up like Lancaster does, but it's still it's a 64 bracket or a 32 bracket, depending on how many people are there, and you shoot down till you get down to the last 4, and then it's a gold-silver medal match and a bronze medal match. So it's just it gives people that are watching the events just a little bit more excitement than sitting there and trying to watch someone shoot 30 arrows with a 2-minute time clock.
Right.
So Rob has done a fantastic job trying to generate the interest in that style of shooting, because in my opinion that's the only real style of shooting that's going to be watchable for the general public. I mean, if you're an archery geek, I'll go and watch someone shoot 30 arrows because I think it's fun. I think it's interesting to watch. But for a general person to not really know what's going on, they can still get some kind of excitement watching a 12-arrow match where if you goof up one time, you're done.
Right.
So he's done an amazing job trying to build the sport to where we can bring in non-endemic sponsors and bring in people that want to sponsor these events, because we can get the general public involved in it and have something exciting to watch.
How many people do you think were there in the gallery watching? I mean, obviously they're connected to people there, but I mean, how many people were watching you guys shoot?
There was probably 300 or 400 would be my guess.
Wow. Okay.
It's quite a shoot up.
I mean, no kidding.
And now, how many are you expecting out at Vegas?
As far as spectators,
yeah.
When we get down to the Open Pro shoot off, there'll probably be 1,000 people there watching.
So if they keep going the way they're going, to bring in those sponsors,
right?
Then they show that, and then they can put a value to it of being watched. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that just opens the door for kind of like the NASCAR style, right?
Right.
You're going to have these guys starting to have different types, but not just your archery sponsors all over your jerseys. You're going to start having other sponsors.
Yeah, outside the sport. Yeah.
Yep, exactly, and that's the whole key to it, right?
One would hope.
And the interesting part about the head-to-head matches is, I mean, anyone that makes that top 64 can string 12 X's together. I mean, so it kind of levels the playing field with everyone, because you don't have to shoot like Vegas. You got to shoot 90 10s to even make the shoot off.
Okay.
Here you've got a little bit more of a chance if you could be going up against the number one guy in the world and have a really, really good match, and he makes one mistake.
Right.
And you've got a chance to knock out the number one guy in the world because you shot really, really well.
Well, that's again what the commentators talked about during that whole process. Well, actually, when you were shooting, they talked about peaking. When do you want to peak? And shoot your absolute best. As you go along, because obviously for you to make that final, you'd have to shoot 7 tournaments to get to that point. I mean, to win it. So versus.
Yeah, I mean, we shoot enough. I don't necessarily agree with the peaking and that side of it. The way she kind of alluded to it means that, like, if John had dropped 4 or 5 points, I'd take an arrow or 2 off and not try to hit the middle. I'm just going to try to shoot the middle no matter what. No, right. I mean, no one's going to go into that style of tournament and let up a little bit because you've got a lead on someone. Right. You can't do that.
Yeah, to me that wouldn't work with your form. I would think. I think it'd mess your form up.
Yeah. Exactly. I would say there is more periodization as far as like peaking. If you're thinking about it in like like you're training for a sport, you don't want to peak 4 weeks before the big game. You want to peak right when the big game gets there.
Right.
So in your training, you want to peak right before a big tournament. I would agree with that side of it, but I wouldn't say you want to peak in the middle of your matches or something like that.
Okay, makes sense.
Especially, I forget what class it is, but one guy made a run all the way from the 8th to the championship round, and he shot 64 arrows. The amount of arrows he was shooting is they're referencing.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. See, if I shot 4 matches, that means I would have shot 48 arrows plus the shoot-off, so that's 51, and I had another 2 arrow shots, so I shot 53 arrows through the match. And we shot 60 in the qualifiers, so it wasn't like you get to the point where you're tired from shooting.
Right. You had a lot in the gas tank.
I'll tell you what, let's step outside. Yeah. We take our last break. We come back, we'll kind of wrap things up. So we'll be right back after this.
I shoot PSE because I like 1 pin to 40 yards.
I shoot PSE for the perfect combination of feel and performance.
I shoot PSE because you can shoot lighter poundage and increase arrow speed.
I shoot PSE for the fastest bows on the planet. I shoot PSE because my livelihood depends on my bow.
I shoot PSE because better engineering makes a better bow.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE.
I shoot PSE. I shoot PSE.
Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show, wrapping things up. Lancaster's done. Looking forward to Vegas. How many shooters do you think you're going to have out at Vegas, roughly?
I think they said we're going to be around 3,500 to 3,700 this year.
Wow. How long does it take to have that many people shoot?
They have, I'm trying to think, 3 or 4 halls that people shoot in. So there'll be 3 line times during the day. They'll have a 9 o'clock line, a noon line, and a 3 o'clock line, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, they run those 3 line times, and they try to put all the classes together so they're all shooting at the same time.
Okay.
But, yeah, it'll be basically from 9 till 6 o'clock. They'll have people shooting for score all 3 days.
That's incredible.
You and the rest of the PSE shooters will all be out in Vegas.
Yes, we will. We've got the booth set up. We're actually we started this last year that anyone in an amateur class that shoots a 300, so you shoot 30-10s, make sure they come over to the PSE booth, and you get a voucher for $300 to spend at the PSE gear store.
Nice. Gotta like that.
There you go. Gotta like that.
That is awesome. Man, that's a lot of people shooting, though. That's just a ton of people shooting. You personally, would you rather have a morning, a noon, or an afternoon shoot?
Noon is like my preferred time to shoot because then I don't have to set an alarm. I can wake up, have my coffee in the morning, get breakfast, and not feel like I'm rushed to try to get down and get, because I like to practice for 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how I'm shooting before my matches start.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So noon's about perfect for me. I don't like shooting later in the day just because you end up sitting around and thinking about shooting. Like you start to get a little bit more nervous because you got to sit there and wait. And then next thing you know, it's there, and it's like, crap, I'm not even ready yet.
Yeah, that's where the mental game starts, right?
Right.
So you sat too long to think about it, or you're not thinking about it quickly enough, and so like noon, like you said, is the way to go.
Now, are they going to televise this one or broadcast? Not televise, but broadcast it on the internet as well?
They'll have the third day, whenever they get down to any ties or like the Open Pro class will have their big shoot off. Mm-hmm. All that stuff will be live on, I believe it's worldarchery.tv. They've got a YouTube channel. I think that'll be on.
Okay.
We'll keep an eye out for it and see if we can. If we pick up on it, we'll share it and
Absolutely.
Get everybody to watch it.
If you guys are looking on Facebook or Instagram, I'm sure there'll be links to watch the shoot-off live, so you'll be able to click on that, or you guys can probably share it on your page so people can watch it too.
Absolutely.
So we can watch Dan shoot.
That's right. Yeah, Danny wanted to call you during the tournament. I said that wouldn't be a good idea. I don't even think you had your phone on you, but I said...
I said to Mike, it's now a good time to call him? Right now?
Yeah, right. Oh,
yeah, my phone either goes in someone else's pocket or I put it on Do Not Disturb, but don't touch it.
You're right.
I wouldn't even make it. Yeah, it'd be somewhere far away from me at that point.
Yeah, middle of a shoot-off, and you got your back pocket, and you feel it vibrate as you're at full draw.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to take your mind off your shooting, feeling your phone vibrating in your pocket.
No kidding.
Don't worry, we were rooting all in fun.
Yeah, no kidding. It was exciting. I mean, I got to say, watching somebody that I know shoot in a tournament like that, it was fun. It was fun being on this side of the camera, on the back end, watching and rooting you on. That was pretty cool. So,
thank you.
Looking here at the rest of the show and everything, Dan, we've got an announcement on a contest that we're going to start running here next week. During this week?
During this week.
Okay. You want to kind of break it down for us and let everybody know what we're doing?
Yeah. So our friends at Carbon Express are going to help us do a little giveaway here. We're going to be giving away a half dozen of SDS Mayhems.
You didn't have that in your phone, do you?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to monitor, and I didn't write it down.
Right.
A shirt and a hat. Do a little giveaway for our 450th show. But you're gonna have to do a little sharing as usual, right? Though.
Yep.
But you're gonna have to share, obviously, like our page and like Carbon Express. But we need you to come onto the show thread and share the show itself.
Yep, the live stream portion of the show. If you could do that for us this week, and actually make a comment on the show
and tag some people in the show.
So we want you to share the show.
Yep.
Like our page. If you haven't already liked it, go over to Carbon Express and like their page. And then and make a comment within the show. Do that this week and do it next week.
Yeah, we're going to run it for a couple weeks so everybody gets a chance to watch the show and notice we put this at the end of the show. So
that's right.
So we're going to have a little giveaway, and then we'll have a drawing, and we'll be giving away a half dozen arrows, a shirt and a hat.
So make sure you get into that. And we'll have more information on our Facebook page.
We'll definitely remind you where to go find the instructions and just make sure you do some sharing.
Right on. Hey, we got a little time left here in the show, and we've saved that because, Dan, when we were at ATA, you set us up with somebody to do an interview with that was absolutely lights out. We can't thank you enough. You set us up with Pedro de Ampuero from Spain. He's an international hunter, and we kind of made reference to it a little bit this week on our Facebook page, and he just posted his video on the Ibex hunt from Kazakhstan.
Yep.
Fabulous, simply incredible. But we got to sit down for about 10 minutes with him in the PSE booth. So we're going to end our live stream here with that portion right now. You're going to have to listen to it on the podcast, obviously. So for all of us here at Up North Journal, and Dan Jasa from PSE, we're going to wrap up today's show, and thanks for joining in.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We're here in the PSE trailer with none other than Pedro de Ampuero, hunter from Spain. And
who shot some magnificent animals.
Magnificent animals, not to mention this gigantic moose. Pedro, thanks for stopping on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're from Spain. I don't know a lot about Spain. I know where it's at, but what kind of animals do you have over there, and how did you get into hunting?
Yeah, so I got into hunting thanks to my dad. And in Spain, we have a lot of animals. Like we have 4 types of ibex: chamois, red deer, roe deer, fallow deer. And we have a really long season, so it's basically all year round. So that gives us a lot of opportunities along the year. So.
Really? All year long?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
So we are super lucky.
So
it's probably one of the best places to hunt in the world, I guess.
What age did you start hunting?
5. Yeah. So it's hunting.
That's incredible. So there's no age requirements.
Not for the bow, but for rifle, yes, it's 14 and 16. So
I take it the bow is your primary weapon of choice.
That will be my favorite. Okay. Yeah, I do everything. I think you can have fun with everything, but if I have to choose, I will go with the bow.
Okay. So. Now, the thing I saw the other night, that picture with that moose over in the Yukon, take us through a little bit of that. Was that with a bow?
Yeah. So it was our second trip to the Yukon. I went I think 12 years ago. But after 15 days, we didn't even have a single opportunity for the bow. So we came back this year in September, mid of September, and for a boat hunt with my dad. And after 5 days, everything came together just like in the videos. Like we called this big bull in to 15 yards, looking at us, and he passed by, perfect shot. So everything lined up just perfect. So.
Okay, so you've got a tremendous animal like that, 15 yards away. That scared the devil out of me.
Nah,
you had to have been nervous.
Missing the shot, of missing the opportunity after so much time. You just don't want to screw up. You don't think that.
Right, exactly. You're more worried about missing the animal than the 1,500-pound animal that's in front of you.
Right. Well, something like that, it could just plow right over you and take you out. So that to me, it's just I got respect for animals like that. But to have something like that now, take us through that hunt and that shot sequence of how that all played out.
Yeah, so it was a boat hunt, but the boat was giving us trouble every day. So we decided, okay, we need to listen to nature. Nature is sending us signal that we shouldn't use the boat, so let's walk from camp and let's see if we get to see something. And right in the first light, we throw a couple of calls out, and we heard a bull far in the distance, answer us. And he just started coming, and we tried to cut his way so he couldn't pick our wind. And he looked at us a couple of times. We were just holding still, and he just kept coming, breaking trees, and
all of a sudden it happened.
It happened.
And so when he was coming at you, were you calling every time to him to keep him coming to you?
No, when we saw that the animal was coming, we stopped calling because I wanted my guy to get it on video. So we just stopped calling and tried to cut the direction he was getting. Okay. So he just passed by at 15 meters. And the arrow just went straight through, and it only ran 150 yards before dropping. So
now, had your videographer not been able to get that on camera, would you have let the shot go?
Yeah. For me, the video, it's important, but at the same time, I'm realistic that some opportunities don't happen every day. And in the Yukon, there's such a low density of animals. You see a lot of videos of shooting moose, and people think that it's an easy animal. But if you are in the Yukon in January or February, there is no it's barely impossible to live out of with so much snow or whatever. So there is very low density of animals. So you are very lucky when things line up.
So when you have the opportunity, you take it, no matter what, video or no video, you're shooting.
If I got time to take the shot, and the video, the guy with the video should have got enough time also to take it on video. So we each have our own work to do.
That's right. So is the moose to you the best animal you've taken to date, or is there another animal that you've taken which you say is your best hunt, your best top animal you've taken?
I would say my best probably animal. Every single animal it's different, and every single animal has their own good things, but I would say I went last year to Azerbaijan in Asia for Dagestan tour, which is known as one of the toughest mountain hunts you can do. And I saw the new archery world record over there at 80 meters, and everything lined out perfect. And if you see that terrain in Azerbaijan, it's not as steep. It's the next thing. It's just crazy steep, and everything lined up perfectly. So
I'm assuming that's that one picture where he's standing on the top of the mountain.
Is that the one where
there's a picture where you're standing?
You see a mountain range.
A mountain range, and you're standing on this peak. Is that from there?
And it's way off in the distance, and I didn't notice that you were standing there until I zoomed into the picture.
Right.
I don't know, my favorite way to hunt is mountain game with bow.
Okay.
So I try to go every year on a couple of mountain hunts. So
so mountain hunting is your favorite. Have you been in flatland where it's been okay, or it's just you do mountain hunting mostly?
I like everything. I mean, I have been several times to Africa.
Okay.
So, I like the silence on the mountains and how the terrain and the physical effort and getting up there where only goats live and spending a week on a tent and
doing it the hard way. I mean, and really getting out there and pushing yourself to that limit.
Yeah, I like that way. I mean, for me, hard is going to job on Mondays, not for climbing up mountains. So,
and you work where?
Pardon?
And you work where?
Yeah, I work at KUIU, managing the European side of the brand, so I cannot complain. I have a great job, so.
Right on. That's cool.
There you go.
You know, going back, you said something. Going back to that hunt with the moose, you said nature was talking to you. You know, had it been me, most people, I think, the boat's not working. You're going to get frustrated, but you didn't have that attitude. You still got out there, and it's like, okay, we're going to just take an approach and get out there and just hit it hard.
Yeah, I believe in karma. So just if things are going to work out, are going to work out, and the more frustrated you get, the worse it's going to go for you. So you have to get things as they come and enjoy hunting every single minute you're out there. That's already amazing by itself. So no matter if you get weathering for 2 days on camp, just don't get frustrated. It's how it goes sometimes, and it's part of hunting. So you just have to love that part too.
You just got to enjoy the experience while you're out there, whether you bring game home or not.
Yeah, you have to enjoy the full experience, not just the killing.
Now, did you have backstraps on the grill that night?
Yeah. They taste great. Yeah, after 5 days of bacon, it's nice to get some moose in the menu. So
that's awesome. Fresh backstraps on the grill. That's cool.
Right. Moose backstraps, right?
Last question here before we let you go. I know you're a busy man here, but is there an animal out there that you still got your eyes on that you haven't taken yet?
So many.
So many. But you got to, okay, we're going to have you narrow it down to one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going back in February for February Ibex in Turkey. I just came back from 10 days hunting in Turkey this December and couldn't make it happen. Mountain hunts sometimes is the way it goes, so I'm looking forward to going back in February to try it again.
So going after the Ibex.
Yeah.
That's cool. Hey, well, listen, we're here at the ATA 2018. We sat here for 10 minutes or so we don't want to take up too much of your time. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
5 days of bacon, and he was getting tired of it.
I didn't think that was possible.
I didn't either. But he ended up with moose backstraps.
I would trade 5 days of bacon for moose backstraps any day of the week.
Right?
Incredible. You
know,
know,
and now, coming up shortly, because we are in February, he said he's going to be going into Turkey, going after an Ibex.
Yeah, and we saw one Ibex hunt that they had just released, him and KUIU. Actually, KUIU released it on their Facebook page, or their website, what have you, and shared it, and we shared it back. Simply incredible. Just some great mountain scenery. You know, he talked about being in the mountains. He loves the mountain hunts. So he's going right back to the mountains.
He like you said, he likes his mountain hunts.
Yeah.
He's done Africa, but he likes the solitude of being up in the mountains with the goats.
Yeah. You know, and the thing that really struck me about the whole interview, he's talking about the boat trip, you know, and the second day, and they couldn't use the boat, and they just like, okay, don't get frustrated. We're just going to do on foot and go out, and they call in this monster moose. You know, you got to go to his Facebook page and see the actual photo of this thing. It is incredible.
The photographer that is helping him or is with him is
incredible.
They've got some setup shots that is incredible.
Yep.
But the best advice that he has, man, take every opportunity when you're out hunting. Be thankful you're out there.
Yeah, if you get snowed in or rained in for a couple of days, that's part of the hunt.
It is what it is. After a couple of days, don't worry about it. You know? But great interview. Great to meet the guy.
Absolutely. So I hope to see him again, you know, next year at ATA and get a chance to talk to him again.
You know, find out about the Ibex if you got it or not.
Right on.
You know, thanks to Dan Jasa for getting us the interview. He was just happened to be in the PSE booth.
Yep.
And he texted us over and said, "Hey, get over here."
Yep. So, And congrats to Dan. He had a great run there at Lancaster and finished.
He finished fifth. And good luck to him out at Vegas this upcoming weekend. I'm sure we'll get an update. Hopefully, we'll catch him live on the YouTube stream that he says that they'll probably do for the finals.
Yeah.
So,
and congrats, or good luck to Chris and Ashley Schnurr that's going to be shooting at Vegas
They'll
as well.
be shooting, and to the rest of the PSE team that's all shooting out there. I know Bobby Vargas will be out there. So.
Yeah, got a lot of people we know that are going to be shooting out there. So, guys, shoot well and make sure that we get to see you there at the finals.
That's right.
We see you at the finals on the live stream they're going to provide for us. So, anything else?
Nope, that's it. Let's get
ready for the big game.
Yeah, let's get ready for the big game, and I got some snacks I got to go eat.
All right. Well, I'm going to let you go so that way you can go have your snacks. I'm not going to watch the game, but I've got plenty of work to do here in the office.
There you go.
So, as we always say here at the Up North Journal, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Turkey Calls,
Antler Action,
Family Tradition Tree Stands,
and Twisted Mind Bowstrings.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe until next week on the Up North Journal.